Now another recommendation. Be prepared, this is a challenge. Only the most die-hard collectors will go through everything. It's not a media store per se, it's basically a guy selling mixed media. Most people walk right out because of the clutter, but if you're in for a challenge, try it.
Well, Mr. Art Shows, that's what I did, and here are my thoughts on the place. But before that, welcome to Bryer's Music Showcase. I'm Bryer Cisneros, and welcome back to another video. And this is another record store finds video. When I looked up the place, it said it was called North Piks or Piks, something like that. So I had to check it out. It was during a school day, so I didn't have all the time in the world, but I somehow still managed to find 10 CDs. And so in this video, I'm gonna go ahead and showcase them. Before we actually talk about the CDs themselves, I do want to give my brief thoughts on the place. I'm gonna be kind of honest. It is the most messiest, disorganized store I have ever walked into. You can see in the B-roll, you see tons of boxes stacked on top of each other. CDs are just scattered around in different locations. Then you have the movie section, which is somewhat organized, but still pretty messy. And there's a lot of tight spaces too. Like, I had my backpack with me, and I had to ditch the backpack and leave it kind of in a safe spot because I could just barely get through. Even someone as skinny as me had trouble navigating through that whole thing. So take that for what you will, and kind of have that in mind if you ever decide to go check the place out. But besides that, a benefit of the store is that everything, I repeat, everything is only $2. So you definitely get a good bargain. Granted, that does reflect the condition on a lot of the stuff. So I did have a couple jewel cases here that were somewhat, they were broken, but since then I have replaced them, so they're all good now. But keep that in mind as well if you ever check the place out. I'm sure there's a ton more that I didn't get a chance to see, but hopefully one day we'll check it out again, and then I'll be a lot more prepared for it. Well, with that all out of the way, still think it's a worth place checking out if you dare go for it. And one more thing I also gotta say, I know the owner is supposed to be a guy, but the person that was there was an older woman, and just want to say the woman was very nice. Had some nice little conversations here and there. So based on that, I think the staff are pretty friendly. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the CDs themselves. First up, we have a band I've heard quite a bit about, and I know the lead singer has a YouTube channel, and I have looked at his videos from time to time, and seems like a cool guy. But his band is called The Darkness, and of course the lead singer I'm talking about, Justin Hawkins. And I know this album had a pretty big single on here with, I believe, in a thing called Love, and it's basically a kind of homage to kind of like that glam rock, glam metal, hair metal sort of sound back in the 80s. So I'm very curious about it. It sounds like I might dig it personally. There's the disc right there. Obviously the imagery is a little bit sexual, but shouldn't be too shocked by that. You open it up, and you just have some nice little photos of the band, a little live shot, which is kind of nice. Again, you can't really see it too well because I can't really do this. It's because it goes out of focus, basically. But hopefully you get an idea on what's included. You get the lyrics, which is also very nice. Like I said, they're a band I've been meaning to check out. So that's the first one. And this is actually pretty cool. I was pretty excited to get this one. Now the band is called The Firm. And you probably don't know the band name, but you definitely know some of the members. This is basically a super group, and let me tell you who's in the band. First up, you have a guy by the name of Tony Franklin, who's pretty well-known bass player. Been on lots of sessions stuff, and I know he's been on a couple bands. Then you have Chris Slade, who again was in a lot of bands, and the one that I know the most is he was in AC/DC for a period of time. Then you have Paul Rogers on lead vocals, who Of course, Free, Bad Company, need I say more? And then probably to some, the most notable member, we have Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. So there you go. Hopefully you can see that little photo of the band. There's Jimmy on the side there. There's Chris, there's Paul, and there's Tony right there. So this came out in 1985. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one because it's good to get more albums with Jimmy Page that's not Led Zeppelin. So it definitely should be interesting. But I know the band didn't last that long either. They only made 2 albums because, you know, sales weren't weren't the greatest, and also Jimmy was going through his addictions at the time. But still, I'm pretty happy to find this. I definitely want to give my thoughts on this one when we get to the end of the month. But that's a nice find right there. And of course, in the comments, you can let me know your thoughts on any of the CDs I'm showing. Now let's keep moving. And then we have a very notable Australian band, and I've talked about this band quite a few times. And that band is Midnight Oil. And this is from 1985 as well. This is called Red Sails in the Sunset. Really like the album cover. Just this cool dystopian illustration of Sydney, Australia. Just a very striking image. I like the colors of it. But this is actually a Midnight Oil album I've been meaning to try out for some time. And again, in a store like that, stuff like this will just show up, and great for me. So I don't know much of the songs really, but again, I dig Midnight Oil quite a bit. So I'm sure I'll enjoy this. I'm sure there's going to be quite a few songs I will really dig. Awesome to have more Midnight Oil in the collection. And then we have Joni Mitchell. We have Taming the Tiger, which has a cute little kitty cat there. That's some tiger right there. And there's another one on the back. Again, you can't really see it that well, but it's right there. So this is a late period Joni Mitchell album. This is 1998, I want to say. Lovely. Again, I love the illustrations. And from what I remember, I think Joni actually does all the artwork on these, which is pretty cool. Anything here? Just another kitty. Same as on the disc. Late period Joni Mitchell. Obviously, it's a lot slower and a lot more jazz focused. So it's definitely not really folky by no stretch. Maybe a little hints of it every once in a while. But it's mostly jazz, kind of reflecting how Joni's vocals have definitely lowered a lot throughout her career. Obviously, I do prefer early Joni, but I'll still give it a nice fair shake. And here's an artist I have one album by, but it's been a long time since I bought anything else. So the artist is Jane Siberry, and she is Canadian, I think, if I remember correctly. And I do have one other album from her. It's called The Walking. The reason why I wanted to check out Jane Siberry is because based on what I've heard, based on word of mouth, she's kind of like the Canadian Kate Bush, if that makes sense. So I remember I bought The Walking, and I really enjoyed that one. And this is the follow-up to The Walking. This is called Bound by the Beauty. And this is 89 by the looks of it. Of course, I don't know any of the songs, but should be interesting. There's the disc, of course. Take out the booklet. Booklet's not in the greatest shape. I wonder if moisture got into this, because it definitely sounds like it. Because some of the pages are kind of sticking a little bit. Oh dear. Like I said, $2. But there you go. That's Jane Siberry, Bound by the Beauty. Okay, this next one I'm going to show is kind of half a joke, but I'm also just curious. So I bought Guilty, Barbra Streisand. Now there's a reason why I got this, and really it's because quite some time ago I received this. So there's no record in this, by the way. It's just an empty sleeve. But I remember my friend Scott sent me a record way back. This is like when I just started getting records for the first time. And this was included. For what I've learned, sometimes when you buy a record online, sometimes sellers will put like empty sleeves in the package as extra padding, basically. So hence why this found its way in there. But it was always kind of a little joke because it's just so random. I would find this, and of course when I found the CD version, I was like, I can't say no to that. But yeah, now I have the CD and the vinyl sleeve. So there we go. But obviously you have Barbra and Barry Gibb on the cover. Definitely the most cheesiest cover in here. But I know Woman in Love. That's probably the only song I know, really. I know it was a kind of a big seller. I think it was one of her best-selling albums, but I never really grew up listening to Barbra Streisand. But there you go. Let me just quickly showcase the booklet. It does fold out, by the way. And it basically just mimics the artwork. Like you have this image, which I believe it's, yeah, kind of same image there. Which is kind of, again, very hilarious to me. But and on the inside, you just got credits to all the songs, who played on what, basically. But other than that, we'll see how I feel about it. I mean, I'm sure I'll tolerate it. Maybe like it. You never know. So funny enough, when I first bought this, it was actually still sealed. It had not been opened, and I did open it now, but it's actually a more modern album. And I know this album was pretty big when this was coming out. This came out in 2019 by the looks of it. It's Harry Styles. Yeah, Harry Styles from, of course, formerly of One Direction. This is a solo album called Fine Line. And like I said, I remember this being pretty big when this came out. I know Watermelon Sugar was, I think, one of the big singles here, and I remember hearing that quite a bit. But like I said, I'm starting to get into more modern, very modern music. So I check this out. Don't have much other expectations really, but I'm definitely gonna go in with an open mind. Okay, and then the inside's pretty straightforward. You just got the lyrics, and not much else to say. But we'll see how I feel about it. Like I said, I'm give it a nice open listen. Still building that Taylor Swift collection, and here is another one. We got Reputation, 2017. This originally came out by the looks of it, and it's, I know this album does have a reputation. Most people say it's definitely one of her worst, and even some Taylor Swift fans admit that it's definitely one of her weaker albums, because I think she was trying to go for a more bad girl persona that most people just didn't really buy. But again, I still want to do that Taylor Swift series. Still don't know when, though. So let's look at the booklet. It's a pretty thick booklet. You get quite a bit in here. So it does have a kind of tabloid aesthetic, which is, pretty fitting. Kind of cool. But there you go. That's another addition to Taylor Swift. Got 2 more to go. And this one is kind of a major blind buy because I've heard of the name. And I've heard snippets on probably one of her biggest songs, but I can't really say I know that much. But the artist is Tiffany. I know she had a big hit with I Think We're Alone Now, and that's literally all I know of her of. But she was kind of popular for a bit in the late 80s. She was kind of one of those like very early like teen pop idols that other kind of artists moving forward would kind of take influence from her. So it has that going for it, but I don't really, again, another one of those CDs where I don't really have that big expectations. But I'm open. It's not much to say on the inside. It's pretty plain, pretty much of the time. And the final CD that I picked up is from good old Weird Al Yankovic. This is Polka Party. I do know this was kind of during that period of his career where it's definitely starting to decline a bit, because aside from maybe Christmas at Ground Zero and maybe Living with a Hernia, there really wasn't like a big single like Eat It, something like on that line. But you know, it's Weird Al, so might as well get more Weird Al in the collection, of course. But yeah, there's really not really a song that really comes out to me. Like again, I've heard Living with a Hernia and Christmas to Ground Zero, but they're not really go-to Weird Al songs. I don't know, like the inside kind of represents how people feel about this album, probably. not really much to say on it. And now let's go ahead, let's do a brief recap on everything we picked up. Going in reverse order, you have Polka Party by Weird Al Yankovic. You have Tiffany, her self-titled debut. Reputation by Taylor Swift. Fine Line, Harry Styles. Barbra Streisand, Guilty. Bound by the Beauty, James Siberry. Taming the Tiger, Joni Mitchell. Red Sails in the Sunset, Midnight Oil. We have The Firm with their self-titled debut. And finally, we have The Darkness, Permission to Land. So there you go. Those are the 10 CDs I picked up at, again, North Piks. I'll figure it out, but hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe if you are new. Let me know your thoughts on any of the CDs I show. And of course, if you do want to check out the store, I'll leave all the address and other information in the description below. So if you're curious, you can go ahead and check it out and see what you find if you dare choose to do so. But I'll see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye for now.